Okay, here we go. I'm gonna be narrating another Empire Total War video. Here we are on the Syrian Ridge map, and I was fortunate enough to play the Prince of Macedon in this one. Or at least he claimed to have been the Prince of Macedon. I believe it is, because he's playing as one of the Prince's favorite armies, Poland. And he's using a lot of tactics similar to what the Prince uses, and a lot of winged hussars, and Prince of Macedon loves those. So my first goal was to fortify the ridge. Got riflemen up there, got my general's bodyguard up to claim it early. I was going to set artillery up there. I have some howitzers back here. But the fight's going to turn into a fight on the ridge, so I'm going to set my artillery up probably right at where they are and just start shelling into the enemy lines. Alright. Immediately here we have a melee brawl. It's riflemen though, so I sent some of my riflemen after them, and they think those are pretty much going to stalemate. I'm playing as the United Providences, by the way, if no one recognizes the flag. I'm doing this just mainly because they have some awesome line infantry elite, and because of the fact that they have these really bright blue uniforms, it looks nice, and they have the Scotsmen. Come on, how often do you see someone in a dress fighting on the battlefield? And these line infantry are going to, without a doubt, tear up those riflemen. So I'm pretty much going to push back his whole attack here. On this flank, he does have a little bit of an advantage. He has more troops. He's not fighting over here, though. This whole time, my riflemen are firing. I believe by now my howitzers have been set up. Yes, they have. Apparently, they've already fired their first volley. I got those aimed into his winged hussars, which are now in melee combat with my Scots. I forgot to set a square formation, so they're actually doing pretty good. Those winged hussars are dangerous if you can use them. Of course, I suck with cavalry, so that's why I didn't bring any at all, besides my general. He has a unit of 6-pound horse artillery right here, which he advanced way too far. Don't know whose error that was on his. I got two of the things right there with an artillery burst. He's got one of my units to rout over here. Yeah, these are my riflemen. Big surprise there. Look at all the line inf running at it. Yep, I took this portion of the hill and I'm regrouping. So I broke his attack in the center. He's got me on the right, and I think on the left it's still stalemating. Yeah, on the left it's still stalemating. I don't know why these Scots are idle. There we go. They're moving. It's just chaos on the left. No military formation whatsoever. And my artillery, I really think, helped me win this. I really think it did. I just have it set up and pounding into this. Alright, he's trying to use his numerical superiority to overwhelm the weakness of my flank here at this point. He's got 2 units of line inf, and they would have no doubt overrun those riflemen if I hadn't gotten them out of there. So this group of riflemen begins to fire on them. I think he hesitates for a moment, and that massive artillery shell right there gets both those guys to rout, I believe. Yep, there they go. And that evens the odds in my favor. I'm retreating the Scotsmen out of there to get them to fight better. There's some more Scots, but they're under attack from these winged hussars. But there's not many of those left. Alright, here I've converged the middle onto the right side, excuse me, to help push them back. I got some guys firing into the forest. I ran some guys actually into the thick. And I do not remember why I forgot to form squares. I think I was just a little distracted, and I am a big fan of the Prince of Macedon, so there's a good reason for that. So right now it looks like he's winning heavily on the right flank here. So I'm going to try and shift my entire line over to where it's parallel to his right flank. It's going to be running almost north and south as opposed to the west and east it was just. Alright, so on the far left flank, he's retreating his troops. It's not worth chasing them, especially when my guys are very tired. He's still in artillery range, so I'm just going to leave these set up the way they are. There's not any threat coming for it at the moment. So here you go, you can see the new line I'm trying to form. It's not a very pretty line, but it'll do the job I'm trying to get out of it. Now he sees me retreating his troops. He does the same. He's going to form a line over here. And I'm actually going to have to reshift my troops again, because by the time all these guys get into formation, there's no one left for them to fight. As you see, this is their last unit on this front, and he's moving it out. And just for the sake of saving time, I'm going to skip to the point where we already have our forces reformed. Okay, this is not quite to the point where I am going to get cut to next, but I just wanted to show you I actually decided to form my line on the opposing side of the hill. I'm going to set my artillery up on the hill so that hopefully my line will never have to engage his. Now at the moment, he really should have advanced some riflemen and got some pot shots off before I got my riflemen down here, but they're fixing to be in position, so he's lost that opportunity. Plus my men are absolutely exhausted. Absolutely. I mean, this is them running at full speed right now because of how tired they are. Okay, now, this is where I wanted to continue. I just got everything in line. My men are anywhere from fresh to exhausted. He begins advancing two groups of riflemen who have taken severe damage each. My riflemen are going to try and repel them, but realizing I don't have enough, I'm going to send up my riflemen that I had guarding my artillery, which are just now getting into position. One unit of reserves back there, of riflemen that I'm marching up. Alright, at this point, I'm really beginning to get nervous, because you'll see I have a relatively small, thin line. And you come back here and he's got 3 things deep, plus cavalry. And cavalry used properly can absolutely end the game at this point. Oh, here goes riflemen. They're fixing to be in range. But my artillery is also functioning. Some of it, I haven't set all of it up yet. And he's going to realize in a minute that the artillery is going to be my key here that I'm really depending on, so I believe he's going to send some of his winged hussars after it in just a bit. Winged hussars moving. Alright, at this point my riflemen have took it position and we're exchanging shells and all. I'm going to win this assault, no doubt about it. Might take some casualties, but I'm going to win it. Alright, I'll pause and skip to where those horses come in. Alright, here come those winged hussars. I had some riflemen. They're not going to last against those things at all. It's just going to shatter them. I try and run them out, but he pretty much has the unit. And the other one's going to come in and they're just going to sweep down my artillery line here. I could have done something about it, honestly, if I was concerned about it. But I'll be honest, I really wasn't at this point. I mean, I just turned his rifle line back, and I was pretty sure I could beat him with just muskets. So these winged hussars just run straight down the line. Beautiful. Never lost that many artillery that quickly before. Oh, that puts everything I have out of commission. Although he didn't stay long enough to do any significant damage, in all honesty, because some of these men who were running away now, some of the men who operate the cannons, excuse me, who are running away now, are actually going to regain their morale in a minute and come back and man 2 or 3 of the guns. But I'd say he took out 70% of its combat effectiveness, and that is significant. So now I'm looking at his line, and it doesn't look so big anymore. So I begin advancing. My men have all had a good chance to rest. They're all fresh, except for these riflemen up here who had to do some running recently. Okay, so now my line is advanced almost within firing range. I hesitated a moment because I saw some winged hussars running my way. But he's retreating them back. I'm really not sure what he's going to do with those. I think he saw this unit right over here of riflemen who had regained morale. Here's one of those units of cannoneers I told you guys about who's going to come back and try and man his cannon. You may have noticed it, honestly, because that looks like what he's running for. Here's another group of them who decided I'm going back to my cannon. And then I guess he just decides against it and makes a charge into my line. And I'm just advancing enough to just be barely within rifle range because he has no more rifles. If I just sit there at rifle range, I'll win. Yep, there we go. I'm within rifle range. He's losing troops. Some of his units are routing. See what those winged hussars are doing. Now, I think I formed into a square. I really do. Yep, there we go. I wanted to wait till the very, very last of it. Now he's actually going to hurt those riflemen a lot. You know, he may have been aiming for those riflemen the whole time. Yeah, that looks like kind of what he was doing, just aiming to take out the rifle line. Unfortunately, he lost some of his horses gouged in the square. That's right, you don't fight men with skirts. You just don't do it. And you know what? He actually did succeed on taking out the rifle line. I suppose he was expecting me to form squares, and it just parted my army for him like the Red Sea. Now here he actually did a great bit of flanking. He has some grenadiers here, which have the same amount of range as line infantry. So to counter that, I'm going to turn a unit out here and face it that direction. They're going to exchange shells. It's going to work out in my favor. I have more troops. These winged hussars are still going at it. See, the one time I actually do remember to form squares against the Prince of Macedon, it works out against my favor. That's him for you. See, no squares. But these winged hussars are dead anyway. Yeah, see, there they go. All I had to do was make the shape and they started running. Now, you'll see, I look forward, there's no enemy. He's already maneuvered away. So I'm sending out 2 units of Swiss infantry to maybe get some flanking fire. And I'm having to reshift my entire line now. Okay, so here we go. His line is advanced within range of my riflemen. And had this just continued the way it is, I would have won. I have numerical advantage, but you know what Sun Tzu says. I'm about to butcher this quote, so heads up. He says something to the effect of, do not proceed on false hope of winning when relying purely on numbers. Anyway, he forgot that some of my artillery has regained its fighting ability. And he now maneuvered his entire line within range. So even if I had a disadvantage here, this would have worked out in my favor. I like the United Providence troops because a lot of them have platoon fire. You see, he actually throws some grenades, his grenadiers do, which actually have really good effect. Really good. He killed about 50 men off all at once. There's a good strategy where you put a Russian grenade launchers behind line infantry. I used to do that. Alright, so I've gotten his whole side routing. And now it just comes down to that last unit, which is being shelled by artillery as we speak. He decides to make a charge for glory. I don't blame him, really. If you have to die, why not die with honor? I must say this would take a lot more bravery than I have. We'll Well, sorry I didn't show you guys that final charge there, but as you can see, I was playing as Sun Tzu. He was the Prince of Macedon. I deployed 1,800 forces, lost 1,000, killed 1,000 of his men. He deployed 1,700, lost 1,400, and only killed 800 of my men. I went positive, he did not.